The night was cold. The wind carried dust and silence across the empty street. A small figure sat near the corner of an old building. It was a boy, no more than 16, with torn clothes, messy hair, and eyes that told a story of pain. His hands shook as he pulled his thin blanket tighter around his shoulders. He had no home, no family, no one to wait for him. The world passed him every day, and the world never stopped to ask his name. He was invisible. Every day, hundreds of people walked down that street. They were businessmen in dark suits, mothers holding their children, young people busy with phones, old people carrying bags of groceries. They all saw him, but at the same time they did not see him. To them, he was just another homeless boy, someone they could ignore. But tonight something was different. Tonight, the boy had seen something that nobody else noticed. Earlier that evening, when the sun was setting, he had been searching for leftover food near the trash bins. He often did this to survive. That was when he noticed a strange movement in the alley next to the bakery. A tall shadow moved quickly, hiding behind the wall. The boy froze. His heart began to beat fast. The shadow was not normal. It was not just a man walking home. The figure seemed to be watching, waiting for something or someone. The boy could not see the face clearly, but he knew in his heart something dangerous was happening. For a long time he sat still, eyes locked on the dark alley. He wanted to scream, but who would listen? He wanted to run, but where would he go? He decided to warn someone, so when people passed by, he stood up. His voice cracked, but he tried to sound strong. "Sir, please, listen. There's something wrong in that alley. Someone is hiding there. It's not safe." The man in a suit glanced at him and shook his head. "Go away, boy." "Stop begging." He kept walking. The boy tried again. A woman with her daughter walked by. He stepped forward, his hands open. "Ma'am, please, don't go near the alley. There's a man hiding. I saw him. It's dangerous." People walked past. Some shook their heads. Some laughed. Some didn't even look at him. Each rejection cut into his heart like a knife. He was not only poor, he was powerless. Nobody believed him. But the boy couldn't forget what he saw. The shadowy figure had looked too serious, too focused, like a predator waiting for prey. He sat back down, hugging his knees to his chest. He whispered to himself, "Why don't they listen? Why can't they see? I know what I saw. I know it's real." Hours passed. The night grew colder. Streetlights flickered. The city became quieter, but the boy did not close his eyes. His stomach was empty, his body weak, but his mind stayed awake. Every sound made him jump. He kept watching the alley. At one point, a group of teenagers walked by, laughing loudly. The boy stood up again, desperate. "Please, don't go near there. Someone is hiding. It's not safe." They looked at him, then burst into laughter. "Look at this kid. He thinks he's a hero." One shouted, "Get lost, beggar." Another said, throwing an empty can at him. The boy covered his face and sat back down. Tears filled his eyes. He wanted to give up, but something inside him refused. He whispered, "No matter what they say, I can't stop watching. If I do, something bad will happen." The minutes felt like hours. The boy's body was shivering, but his eyes stayed sharp. Then he saw it again. The shadow moved. Slowly, carefully, the figure stepped closer to the streetlight. The boy's breath caught in his throat. It was a man, tall and thin, dressed in dark clothes. His face was partly covered. He looked around, checking if anyone was watching. Then he pulled something shiny from his pocket. The boy squinted. His heart dropped. It was a knife. Fear rushed through him. His hands trembled. He wanted to scream again, but he remembered what happened earlier. Nobody would believe him. They would laugh, call him crazy, or worse, push him away. But he couldn't stay silent either. His chest felt heavy with the secret he carried. He whispered, "What should I do? Someone will get hurt. I can't just sit here." He looked at the street, hoping for a miracle. And then he saw her, a policewoman, walking down the street, checking the area as part of her patrol. She was young, confident, and serious, Her uniform was neat, and her steps were strong. She looked like someone who could handle danger. The boy's eyes widened. His heart filled with hope. Maybe this time, someone would believe him. Maybe this time he would not be ignored. He stood up quickly and waved his arms. "Officer, officer, please. You have to listen to me." The policewoman stopped and turned. Her eyes scanned him from head to toe. A homeless boy, dirty clothes, nervous voice. She frowned slightly. "What is it?" she asked firmly. The boy ran closer, breathless. "Please, there's a man in the alley. I saw him. He has a knife. He's waiting for someone. You have to check." The officer crossed her arms. "Are you sure? Or are you just trying to get attention?" The boy's face turned pale. "No, I swear. I saw him. He's dangerous. Please believe me." The officer sighed. She looked tired. She had probably heard many lies on the streets before. Still, something in the boy's eyes made her pause. She finally said, "Stay here. Don't talk. Let me check." The boy nodded, his chest rising and falling fast. He wanted to shout to say more, but he bit his tongue. He knew this was his only chance. The policewoman started walking toward the alley. The boy held his breath. His hands clenched into fists. His heart beat like a drum. For the first time in his life, he was not just a homeless boy. He was a witness to something dark, something dangerous. And as he watched the officer disappear into the shadows of the alley, one thought burned in his mind. Nobody believed me. But if she doesn't believe me either, someone might die tonight. The street was almost empty now. A cold silence floated in the air, broken only by the hum of streetlights. The homeless boy stood frozen near the corner, his thin hands shaking as he clutched his blanket. His eyes followed the policewoman as she walked toward the alley. He wanted to shout, "Ow," to warn her again, but her last words echoed in his ears. "Stay here. Don't talk." He bit his lip hard. He knew he had to obey, but fear was crawling through his chest. What if she didn't see the man? What if he attacked her before she realized the danger? The boy's heart pounded like a drum as the officer's boots clicked against the pavement. Each step she took felt heavier, louder, as if time itself slowed down. The shadows of the alley stretched out like long black fingers reaching for her. The boy held his breath, and then he saw movement. A flicker of darkness, deeper inside the alley. The tall man, the same shadow he had seen earlier, shifted slightly. His body pressed against the wall, his face still hidden beneath a hood. His hand gripped the shiny knife tighter. The boy's eyes widened. He wanted to scream, but fear chained his voice. His whole body trembled. The officer reached the mouth of the alley and paused. Her flashlight clicked on, slicing through the darkness. The beam of light moved left, then right, brushing over garbage bins and broken boxes. The alley looked empty. The boy shook his head violently. He could see the figure standing perfectly still in the deeper shadows, just beyond the beam of light. Why didn't she see him? The officer called out, her voice calm but firm. "Is anyone here? This is the police. Show yourself." No answer. The boy's skin crawled. He could see the man's chest rising and falling. He was there. He was hiding. The officer stepped forward. Her flashlight beam moved closer to the figure. The boy's heart thumped harder. He whispered to himself, "Please, see him. Please, don't turn your back." And then it happened. The figure shifted again. His knife glinted as the light caught it for just a second. The boy gasped. He knew this was not imagination. It was real. The officer's hand moved toward her gun, but still, she didn't see him clearly. She kept walking deeper into the alley. Her back now turned slightly to the spot where the man hid. The boy felt panic rise like fire in his throat. He wanted to run, to grab her, to scream, but she had told him to stay quiet. And what if she thought he was lying again? What if she turned her anger on him? But then, the figure moved faster. Just one step forward, slow but deadly. Like a predator stalking its prey, the boy's nails dug into his palms. His body shook. He whispered, "No, no, please turn around. Please." The officer suddenly stopped. She felt something. Her instincts told her she was not alone. She turned her flashlight quickly to the left. The beam brushed the wall. Empty. She swung it to the right. Empty again. The man pressed himself flatter against the wall, hiding in the darkness. He was clever. Too clever. The boy's chest felt like it would explode. He could not take it anymore. He took one step forward and whispered louder this time, "He's there. He's right there." But his voice was too soft. The wind swallowed it before it reached her ears. The officer exhaled and shook her head. She muttered to herself, "Nothing here. Just my imagination." She began to turn back toward the street. That was the moment. The figure moved again. The knife raised slightly. The boy's eyes went wide with terror. His throat finally broke open with a cry. "Behind you. He's behind you." The sound echoed across the empty street. The officer froze, her body stiff. This time the beam caught it. A flash of steel. A face half covered. A tall, dark man gripping a knife. Her eyes widened. She reached for her gun in an instant. But the man didn't move away. He stood there, staring at her with cold, empty eyes. For a long second, the world stood still. The boy could hear nothing but the hammering of his own heart. Then the man took one step forward. The officer drew her gun and shouted, "Drop it!" "Police!" The man did not drop it. Instead, he smiled a slow, chilling smile that made the boy's blood run cold. He whispered something, but the boy couldn't hear. Then, like a shadow slipping through darkness, the man stepped back deeper into the alley. The beam of light couldn't reach him anymore. The officer's breath was heavy now. Her gun stayed raised. She stepped carefully forward. The boy wanted to scream again. "Don't go in. Please don't go in." But his voice cracked. His courage sank. He watched helplessly as the officer disappeared further into the alley. The boy pressed his hands to his face. His whole body shook. He just knew that something terrible was waiting in there. And once again, the same thought returned to his mind, louder, sharper, more painful than before. Nobody believed me, and now she might pay the price. The alley was dark and heavy with silence. The homeless boy stayed near the corner, his small body shaking with fear. His eyes never left the narrow path where the policewoman had walked. Every second felt like an hour. His mind screamed at him to run, but his heart told him to stay. She was the only one who had even stopped to listen. Maybe she didn't believe him fully, but she had paused. She had looked at him, spoken to him. That alone made him feel a small spark of hope. But now, as she vanished into the shadows, that spark began to die. The boy pressed his back against the wall. His eyes darted left and right, afraid the man with the knife might step out any second. He whispered to himself, trying to stay brave. "Don't let her get hurt. Please don't let her get hurt." Suddenly, the sound of boots echoed again. The officer stepped back into the dim light of the street. Her gun was still in her hand, her flashlight in the other. She looked tense, her eyes sharp, scanning the street carefully. The boy's heart jumped. She had returned. She was safe for now. The officer noticed him standing stiff near the corner, his wide eyes glued to her. She frowned and walked closer. Did you shout just now?" she asked, her voice firm. The boy nodded quickly. His voice was weak, but desperate. "Yes, officer. I saw him. I swear he was there. He had a knife. I wasn't lying." The policewoman narrowed her eyes. She didn't lower her gun. Her face showed both doubt and curiosity. She had been on the streets long enough to know that sometimes people made up stories, but the boy's fear looked too real. "You need to calm down," she said. "What exactly did you see?" "Tell me everything." The boy swallowed hard. His throat was dry. His words trembled out. "I saw a man hiding. Tall, dark clothes. His face was covered. He had a knife. He was waiting in the shadows. I saw him before you came. Nobody believed me, but I knew he was there." The officer's eyes studied his face closely. She could see the boy was hungry, tired, dirty, but his His eyes were sharp and alive. He wasn't imagining this. Something inside her told her he was speaking the truth. Still, she kept her voice steady. "Where exactly did you see him?" Pointed out, the boy raised a shaking finger toward the alley. His whole arm trembled as he whispered, "Right there, deeper in the shadows. He moved when you walked in. He almost attacked you." The officer turned her head slowly back toward the alley. Her grip tightened on the gun. Her instincts whispered that she wasn't alone. She glanced back at the boy. "What's your name?" The boy hesitated. It had been so long since anyone asked his name. His voice cracked as he answered, "Daniel." The officer nodded. "All right, Daniel. I'm Officer Riley. You said you saw a knife. Are you sure?" Daniel nodded quickly, his eyes wide with fear. "Yes, I'm sure. I'm not lying, officer. Please, you have to believe me." Riley looked at him for a long moment. She saw the way his hands shook, the way his breathing quickened. He wasn't acting. This boy had really seen something. But before she could respond, faint noise came from the alley. It was soft like the sound of a shoe scraping against the ground. Both Daniel and Officer Riley froze. Their eyes shot toward the darkness. Riley raised her gun again and took a step forward. "Stay here," she ordered. Daniel's chest tightened. His legs felt weak. He wanted to obey, but his whole being screamed at him not to let her go alone. "No, please," he whispered, but his voice was too soft for her to hear. Riley moved carefully, her flashlight cutting through the darkness again. "Police," she shouted. "Come out with your hands where I can see them." Silence. Daniel's breathing grew louder in his own ears. He felt like the night itself was pressing down on him. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound louder than before. Then another noise came, this time clearer. The sound of something metallic dropping lightly against the ground. A small clink. Daniel's stomach dropped. He knew that sound. It was the knife. Riley's body stiffened. She kept her gun raised, her finger near the trigger. "Show yourself," she ordered again. From deep inside the alley, a low chuckle echoed. Slow, mocking, chilling, Daniel's knees almost gave out. That laugh wasn't human, it was cruel, empty, like someone who enjoyed fear. He covered his mouth with his hands to stop himself from crying out. Riley's eyes narrowed. She took one step closer. Her voice was sharp. "This is your last warning. Step into the light." The shadows shifted. The figure stepped forward, just enough for the light to brush his face. Daniel gasped. It was him, the same man he had seen earlier, tall, hooded, his eyes dark and soulless. The knife still glinted in his hand, but the man didn't run. He didn't look afraid. He only smiled, a slow, cruel smile. Daniel's heart stopped. He whispered, "No, no, don't go closer." Riley didn't move back. She stood her ground, aiming straight at him. Her voice echoed strong and commanding. "Drop the weapon now." The man tilted his head slightly. His smile never faded. Then, without a word, he slowly stepped back into the darkness again. Swallowed by the shadows, Riley took a step forward, but Daniel's voice broke the silence. "Don't go in there. Please don't." His words were loud this time, desperate, almost a scream. Riley stopped. Her eyes turned to him. For a moment, the firmness on her face softened. She realized this boy wasn't just scared, he was terrified for her. She lowered her gun slightly, but didn't put it away. She exhaled slowly and muttered to herself, "This isn't normal." Daniel stood frozen, his body trembling from head to toe. The image of that man's smile burned into his mind. He knew this was only the beginning. Something darker was waiting in that alley, and once again, the same thought echoed in his chest like a heavy drumbeat. Nobody believed him. But tonight, the truth was standing right there in the shadows. The street was quiet again. The homeless boy, Daniel, stood near the corner, his heart pounding so loudly he thought it might burst. His eyes stayed fixed on Officer Riley, who now stood just a few steps away from the alley. He could still see that smile in the darkness, the cold, cruel smile of the man with the knife. He swallowed hard. His voice was shaky, but he tried to speak. Did you see him, officer? You saw him, right? Please tell me you saw him this time. Riley glanced at him, her face unreadable. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned her eyes back, toward the alley, as if hoping the man would show himself again. But the shadows remained still. After a moment, she exhaled and finally spoke. I saw someone, but it could have been a trick of the light. Daniel's heart dropped. His hands shook harder. He stepped closer to her. No, it wasn't the light. He was there. I saw his face. He had a knife, I swear. He was smiling like he wanted to hurt someone. Please, you have to believe me. Riley's eyes narrowed. Her voice was calm but firm. Daniel, you need to understand. People on these streets tell stories all the time. Sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not. I can't just act without proof. Her words cut deep. Proof. That word always came back. Nobody trusted his eyes, his voice, his truth. Daniel's voice cracked as he begged again. I'm not lying. I've been watching him since sunset. Nobody else saw him. Everyone ignored me. But he's real. Please, officer, don't ignore me too. For a moment, Riley hesitated. She looked at the boy carefully. His eyes were wide, filled with terror, but also with something else, something real. Desperation, honesty, pain. Before she could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed on the other side of the street. A group of people appeared, 3 men and 2 women, talking loudly, toward the corner. Daniel's chest tightened. He ran forward, blocking their path. His voice rose in panic. Don't go that way. Please, don't go near the alley. There's a man hiding there with a knife. He'll hurt you. The group stopped. They looked at him, then at each other. One of the men scoffed. Really? A man with a knife? Daniel shook his head wildly. His voice cracked with fear. No, I swear it's true. I saw him. Please don't go that way. It's not safe. The 2 women exchanged glances. One of them whispered to the other, Poor boy. He's probably just hungry. He's imagining things. Another man stepped forward, frowning. Listen, boy. Don't waste our time with your stories. If there was really someone dangerous there, the officer would have stopped us. Right, officer? All eyes turned to Riley. For a moment, silence filled the street. Daniel stared at her, his heart in his throat. This was the moment. Would she support him or dismiss him, like everyone else? Riley's lips parted, but she hesitated. She didn't want to create panic without evidence. Finally, she said, I didn't see anyone clearly. You should all be careful, but there's no proof of danger right now. The group nodded, satisfied with her words. They laughed lightly and continued walking. Daniel's chest caved in. His knees felt weak. His voice came out in a broken whisper. No, you have to believe me. Why won't anyone believe me? The group walked past him, ignoring his cries. One of the men muttered, Crazy kid, under his breath. Daniel turned back to Riley, his eyes filled with tears. His voice rose again, filled with raw pain. You saw him? You saw him too? Why won't you say it? Why won't you believe me? If something happens to someone, it will be our fault. Riley's expression softened for a second. She lowered her gun completely now and placed her flashlight on her belt. She sighed deeply. Daniel, I don't know what I saw. Maybe you're right. Maybe there was someone. But without evidence, nobody will believe us. Not the people, not the station. Daniel's shoulders slumped. His voice grew weak. They don't need to believe us. You just need to believe me. Please, officer. You're the only one who listened to me at all. Don't turn away now. Riley stared at him. She didn't answer. Her silence was louder than words. Daniel dropped his head into his hands. His chest heaved with silent sobs. Once again, the world turned its back on him. Once again, his truth was treated like a lie. But deep inside, Daniel knew what he had seen. That shadow, that knife, that smile, it wasn't a trick of the light. It wasn't his imagination. It was real. and the danger hadn't disappeared. It was still out there, waiting as the night stretched on. One thought repeated in his mind like a cruel echo. Nobody believed him, and when the time comes, they will regret it. The night grew darker. The cold wind moved through the empty street, making Daniel shiver. His stomach ached from hunger, but fear kept him awake. He sat back down on the cold ground near the corner, wrapping his thin blanket around his body. Officer Riley stood a few feet away, still watching the alley. She didn't put her gun away, but she didn't step inside again either. Her face showed confusion, part doubt, part concern. Daniel looked at her with desperate eyes. "Do you believe me now, officer?" he whispered. Riley glanced at him. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I'm not sure yet," she admitted. "I saw something, yes, but I don't know what it means." Daniel dropped his head. His hope sank lower. Once again, his truth wasn't enough. For a long time, silence filled the street. The only sound was the flicker of the broken streetlight above them. Then, Daniel's eyes caught something strange. Near the entrance of the alley, close to the garbage bins, something shiny peeked out from beneath an old cardboard box. It was small, but it glinted under the dim light. Daniel narrowed his eyes. His instincts told him it wasn't just trash. He slowly stood up, his thin legs wobbling, and pointed toward it. "Officer, look." "What is that?" Riley turned her head. Her eyes followed his finger to the corner of the alley. She stepped closer carefully, flashlight in hand. While Daniel followed behind at a distance, when she moved the box aside, her flashlight beam landed on a small black bag. It was half buried under trash, as if someone had tried to hide it. Riley crouched down slowly, keeping her gun ready in one hand. She touched the bag carefully with her gloved hand, then unzipped it just enough to look inside. Her eyes hardened. Daniel leaned forward, his curiosity burning. "What is it? What's inside?" Riley closed the zipper quickly and stood up, her expression serious. "Nothing you need to see," she said sharply. But Daniel's eyes widened. For just a second, before she closed it, he had seen something inside the bag. Metal tools. Not normal tools. Sharp ones. Long ones. Things that could hurt people. His chest tightened. His voice trembled. "I saw it. Don't lie to me, officer. There were knives in there." "More than one? Why would someone hide that?" Riley looked at him with surprise. She hadn't expected him to notice. She hesitated, then finally sighed. "Yes, you're right. There are weapons inside. And you're also right that someone hid them here." Daniel's eyes filled with fear. "It was him, wasn't it?" "The man I saw. He left this bag here." Riley didn't answer. She zipped the bag fully and held it tightly. Her face showed deep concern now. This was no longer just a boy's story, it was real. But Daniel's mind raced. His small voice broke with panic. "He's planning something. He's going to hurt someone." "I told you, officer. I told you." Nobody listened to me. Riley placed a firm hand on his shoulder, trying to calm him. "Listen, Daniel. You did the right thing telling me, but we need to handle this carefully. If I call for backup now and they don't find him, they'll think I'm wasting their time." Daniel shook his head wildly. "No, you can't wait. He's out there, waiting for someone to walk by. If you don't stop him now, something terrible will happen." Riley looked at the boy's frightened face. His eyes were wet with tears, his lips trembling, but there was fire in his words. He believed every syllable before she could respond. Sudden sound broke the silence. A bottle rolled out of the alley, hitting the street with a sharp clink. Both Daniel and Riley froze. Their heads snapped toward the darkness. Daniel whispered, his voice shaking, "He's still there." Riley raised her gun again, her body stiff, eyes locked on the alley. Her flashlight beam cut across the walls, but nothing moved. The shadows looked empty again. Daniel's breath quickened. His heart slammed against his chest. He whispered again, "He's watching us." The alley stayed silent. Finally, Riley lowered her voice and spoke firmly. "Daniel, I want you to stay behind me. Do not move unless I tell you to." Daniel nodded quickly, his whole body trembling. Riley slowly bent down, picked up the black bag, and slung it over her shoulder. Her jaw tightened. She was no longer doubting the boy. Something dangerous was happening here, and the bag was proof. But Daniel's thoughts raced faster than ever. If the man had left his weapons here, it meant he wasn't done. He was preparing for something bigger. Something worse. Daniel's lips moved in a whisper, but it was more like a prayer. Please, God, don't let anyone die tonight. As he clutched his blanket tighter, one thought grew louder in his mind. They didn't believe me. But this bag is proof. And soon, the truth will be too dangerous to ignore. Daniel stood very still, his thin frame shaking under the cold night air. His eyes stayed locked on the dark alley. It looked empty, but his gut screamed that someone was still there, watching, waiting. Officer Riley held her gun tight in one hand and the black bag in the other. Her sharp eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. The silence of the street grew heavier, broken only by the soft buzz of the broken street light above them. Stay behind me, Riley whispered again, firm and steady. Daniel swallowed hard and nodded. His bare feet made no sound on the concrete as he stepped closer to her, clutching his worn blanket like a shield. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. Suddenly another sound came from the alley. Crunch, a single step. Someone had stepped on glass. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. His whole body froze. He whispered, "He's here. I know he's here." Riley's flashlight shot toward the noise. For a moment, the light caught movement of figure, tall and thin, disappearing deeper into the shadows. Stop. "Police!" Riley shouted, her voice echoing through the alley. But the figure didn't stop. Instead, a mocking laugh drifted from the darkness. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to send a chill through Daniel's spine. The boy's knees felt weak. His voice cracked. "That's him. That's the man I saw. He's real." Riley raised her gun, her voice hard. "Come out with your hands up." The alley answered with silence. Riley's finger hovered over the trigger, her whole body tense. She couldn't fire into the dark without being sure. Her training told her to wait, but her instincts screamed danger. Daniel couldn't hold his fear inside anymore. Tears filled his eyes as he tugged on her sleeve. "Don't let him escape, please. If you let him go, someone will get hurt. I know it. I saw what he was carrying before. He's not done. He's waiting." Riley didn't look at him. Her focus was locked on the black wall of shadows. But she did answer, her voice low and steady. "You've been brave, Daniel. But now you need to trust me. Don't move, no matter what happens." Daniel bit his lip so hard it almost bled. He wanted to run, to scream, to make the man come out, but he forced himself to stay behind her. For a few long seconds, nothing happened. Then, out of the darkness, something small slid across the ground. It stopped just inches away from Riley's boots. She glanced down. It was a folded piece of paper. Daniel's heart raced. His whisper shook. He left us a note." Riley bent down carefully, never lowering her gun, and picked it up with her free hand. Her jaw tightened as her eyes moved across the words. "What does it say?" Daniel asked, his voice trembling. Riley hesitated, then read it out loud. "She can't save you. She can't save anyone. Tonight the street belongs to me." Daniel's legs almost gave out. His chest tightened so much he could barely breathe. He's going to do something tonight. He's not just hiding. He's planning. He's waiting for the right moment. Riley folded the note and slipped it into her pocket. Her face was pale but fierce. "This changes everything. He's not just dangerous, he's bold. He wants us to know he's watching." Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. "Nobody ever believed me before. But now, you do. Don't you?" Riley finally turned her eyes to him. For the first time, there was no doubt in her voice. "Yes, I believe you." Tears spilled down Daniel's cheeks. Relief mixed with fear. Someone finally believed him, but that also meant the danger was real. Before Riley could say more, A loud bang echoed from the far end of the street. It wasn't a gunshot, it was metal crashing, maybe a dumpster being pushed over. Riley whipped her head toward the sound. "Stay here," she ordered, before moving a few steps forward, her gun raised. But Daniel couldn't stay. His fear and curiosity pulled him forward step by step. His heart pounded, but his eyes refused to leave the shadows where the sound had come from. Somewhere out there, the man was moving, watching, playing with them. Daniel clutched his blanket tighter, whispering to himself, "This isn't over. He's coming back. I can feel it." And deep in the darkness, unseen by either of them, two cold eyes watched from behind a broken wall. The man stood perfectly still, a twisted smile spreading across his face. He had seen the boy. He had seen the officer. And he wasn't finished yet. The cold night air wrapped around the street like a heavy blanket. Daniel's thin body shook, but not just from the cold. His fear was growing. Every sound seemed louder, every shadow darker. Officer Riley kept her gun raised, scanning the alley and the street beyond. The black bag of weapons hung from her shoulder, its weight reminding her that the danger was real. The note in her pocket pressed against her side like a warning. Daniel stayed close, clutching his blanket tight around him. His wide eyes darted from left to right. He couldn't shake the feeling that the man was still there, hiding, laughing silently at them. Then a new sound echoed through the street. Tap, 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 footsteps. Slow, steady, deliberate. Riley stiffened, her gun pointing toward the sound. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The footsteps came from the far end of the alley, moving closer. "Show yourself," Riley shouted, her voice sharp and commanding. The footsteps stopped. Silence then. Without warning, the sound of running filled the night. Heavy, fast footsteps bolted deeper into the dark maze of alleys. "He's running," Daniel cried. Riley didn't hesitate. "Stay here," she ordered and sprinted forward. But Daniel's fear of being left behind was stronger than his fear of the dark. "No, wait," he yelled, chasing after her, despite his bare feet slapping painfully against the cold pavement. The two of them raced into the alley, the broken streetlights flickering above as shadows danced along the walls. The footsteps echoed ahead, turning left, then right. The man was fast, too fast, but Riley kept running, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. "Stop." "Police," she shouted again, her voice bouncing off the brick walls. But the man only laughed, a deep, mocking laugh that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Daniel's chest burned from running. His small lungs fought for air, but he refused to stop. He knew if they lost him tonight, something terrible would happen to someone else tomorrow. They turned a corner and saw a figure just ahead, a tall man, dressed in dark clothes, his face hidden under a hood. He glanced back at them, then darted into another narrow passage. "There, I see him," Riley yelled. Daniel's heart jumped. The shadow was real. The danger was real. He hadn't imagined anything, but as they chased him deeper into the maze of alleys, Daniel noticed something that made his blood run cold. The man wasn't just running. He was leading them. Every turn felt deliberate. Every path seemed planned. He wanted them to follow. Officer Daniel gasped, pulling at her arm. He's not escaping. He's making us chase him." Riley's eyes narrowed. She slowed just a little, her instincts confirming what the boy said. The man wasn't panicking. He was in control. Before she could react, the sound of heavy metal rang out. Clang. A large dumpster rolled suddenly into their path, blocking the way forward. Riley stopped, just in time, nearly colliding with it. Daniel stumbled and fell to his knees. The man's laughter echoed again, louder this time. It bounced off the alley walls like a cruel game. "You can't catch me," his voice mocked, low and chilling. Riley gritted her teeth, pulling Daniel back to his feet. "Stay behind me," she said firmly. Daniel's legs trembled, but he nodded. His small hand clung to the edge of her jacket as they stepped carefully around the dumpster. The alley ahead split into two, paths left and right. Riley's eyes flicked between them. Her flashlight swept over the cracked bricks and scattered trash, but both sides looked empty. The laughter had stopped. Daniel whispered he's hiding, waiting for us to choose wrong. Riley's heart pounded. This was exactly what the man wanted. He was turning the chase into a trap. Suddenly, from the left path, a loud crash echoed. A glass bottle shattered against the ground from the right path. Faint sound of running footsteps. Two sounds at once. Riley's jaw tightened. He's trying to confuse us. Daniel's voice trembled. Which way do we go? For a moment, Riley stood frozen, weighing the choice. Then she made a quick decision. Right. Stay close. They sprinted down the right path, chasing the sound of footsteps. But as they turned another corner, Daniel's eyes widened in horror. The path ended. A dead end. Riley stopped, her gun raised, scanning every corner. Daniel's voice shook. He tricked us. The alley was empty except for something lying on the ground. Another small package. Riley approached it slowly, flashlight steady. She crouched and opened it carefully. Inside was a piece of rope and a single blood-stained glove. Daniel's stomach twisted. His voice broke. Oh no. He's hurt someone, or he's going to. Riley's face hardened. Her voice dropped low. This isn't just a chase anymore. It's a warning. He wants us to know what he's capable of. Daniel's small body trembled. He clutched his blanket tighter, whispering he's not running away. He's hunting us. And somewhere above them, hidden on a rooftop, the man watched with a grin. His game was only beginning. The dead-end alley was silent, except for Daniel's shaky breathing. The dirty walls pressed close around them, making the space feel like a cage. The rope and blood-stained glove lay on the ground, mocking them. Officer Riley's grip tightened on her gun. Her eyes scanned the rooftops and the dark corners. Every instinct in her body told her they were not alone. Daniel's thin hands clutched his blanket so hard his knuckles turned white. His voice was a whisper, trembling but clear. He's playing with us. He knew we would follow. He wanted us here. Riley nodded slightly. Yes, this was no accident. He's setting traps. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the roof above them. Daniel flinched, nearly falling backward. Riley swung her flashlight upward. For a split second, they both saw him standing tall on the edge of the roof. His hood covered his face, but his stance was bold, confident. Police, Riley shouted, raising her gun. Don't move. The man didn't run. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he laughed. A deep, chilling laugh that poured down the walls like cold water. Daniel's knees shook. His whisper cracked. He's not afraid of you. He's not afraid of anything. The man crouched down and dropped something from his hand. It clattered onto the ground near them, a small metal object. Riley quickly pulled Daniel back and pointed her gun at it. It wasn't a weapon. It was a pocket watch. Old, scratched, its chain broken. Riley bent down slowly, keeping her eyes on the man above. She picked up the watch. The back was engraved with words. She read them out loud. Time is running out. Daniel's face turned pale. His lips trembled as he whispered, he's warning us. Or counting down. Before Riley could respond, the man's voice boomed from above, loud and taunting. You can't stop me. She won't stop me. Tonight, you will watch, and you will fail. Then, with one quick move, he vanished behind the roofline. Wait, Riley shouted, sprinting toward the side exit of the alley. Daniel followed, his bare feet slapping against the pavement. They reached the open street again, but the man was gone. The night was empty, silent, but charged with tension. Daniel's chest heaved. His young voice broke with desperation. He's not just running away anymore. He's preparing something. Something big. He wants us scared. He wants us to feel helpless. Riley slipped the watch into her pocket, her face stern. He wants control. But he's not the only one who can play this game. Daniel looked up at her, his small face filled with both fear and hope. What do we do now? Riley placed a steady hand on his shoulder. Her voice was firm, unshaken. We don't run. We don't hide. We make him show himself on our terms. Daniel swallowed hard. His voice was barely more than a whisper. But what? The broken streetlight flickered above them, casting long shadows across the ground. The night felt heavier, darker, as if danger itself was pressing in from all sides, and somewhere not too far away, the man crouched in the darkness of another alley, watching them through the cracks. His grin widened as he whispered to himself, "They're in my web now, and soon the game ends." The street felt emptier than ever. The broken streetlight buzzed, flickering like it might die at any second. Daniel stood close to Officer Riley, his body shivering not just from the cold, but from fear that grew heavier with each passing minute. Riley slipped the pocket watch into her jacket. Its cold metal pressed against her chest, a reminder of the man's message. Time is running out. Her jaw clenched. "He's not running anymore," she muttered. "He's building pressure. He wants us nervous before he makes his move." Daniel's wide eyes never stopped scanning the shadows. Every flicker of light, every distant noise made him jump. What if he means it? His voice was thin and broken. What if time really is running out for someone? Riley crouched slightly to look at him. Her voice was low but steady. "Listen to me, Daniel. You've already been braver than most grown men I've met. You've seen things others ignored. And you're still standing here?" Daniel blinked at her, his lips trembling. "But what if standing here isn't enough? What if I can't do anything when the time comes?" Riley's gaze hardened. "Then you do what you already did. You shout. You fight. You don't give up. You've already saved me once tonight just by refusing to stay silent." Those words gave Daniel a tiny spark of strength. He nodded slowly, wiping his wet eyes with the corner of his blanket. But before he could respond, a new sound broke the quiet night. Tick, tick, tick. It was faint, but clear. The sound of something mechanical. Daniel froze. "Do you hear that?" Riley turned her head, scanning the street with sharp eyes. The ticking grew louder, echoing from the alley they had just come out of. She pulled Daniel gently behind her and raised her flashlight again. The beam cut through the darkness, landing on a trash can near the wall. The sound was coming from inside it. Riley approached carefully, gun ready. She tipped the lid open with her boot. Inside, resting on top of the garbage, was another pocket watch. Its hands moved quickly, ticking faster than normal, and next to it was a photograph. Daniel gasped. His small hands flew to his mouth. That's you." It was true. The photo showed Officer Riley standing in uniform. Taken from a distance earlier that night while she patrolled, Riley snatched the photo, her stomach twisting. Her voice came out tight. "He's been watching me. Not just tonight. Maybe for longer." The ticking grew louder. Riley grabbed the watch and threw it to the ground. It shattered, the sound cutting off instantly. Daniel's voice cracked. "He's counting down. Not just time. He's counting down to you." Riley didn't answer. Her face stayed strong, but her eyes betrayed the weight of his words. Then another sound filled the air. Clap. 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 Slow, sarcastic clapping. Both Daniel and Riley spun toward the sound. At the far end of the street, half hidden in the shadows, stood the man. His hood was still up, his face hidden, but his posture was confident, mocking. "You're getting closer," his voice rang out, "but not fast enough." Riley raised her gun. "Stay where you are." The man only laughed. Then he stepped backward into the shadows and was gone again. Daniel's heart pounded so loud he thought the man could hear it. His whisper shook. He's planning something for you, officer. He's not just trying to scare us. He wants you to suffer." Riley placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. Her voice was firm. "Then he'll be disappointed, because I don't break easily." But deep inside, even Riley felt the chill of his words. The ticking, the photo, the countdown, it was all leading to something. Something dangerous. And Daniel knew it too. His small voice whispered into the night, trembling but true. "He's not running out of time. We are. The street was silent again. Too silent. The echo of the man's mocking clap still lingered in the air, like poison that refused to fade. Daniel's body trembled, his blanket slipping off his shoulders. His wide eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, expecting the man to leap out at any moment. Officer Riley kept her gun raised, her stance firm, but inside her chest her heart was pounding like a drum. The photograph in her pocket burned against her skin. Proof that the man wasn't just a stranger in the dark, he was watching her life, studying her, hunting her. "Stay close to me," she said in a low, controlled voice. Daniel nodded quickly, clutching her jacket sleeve. His young voice was a whisper. "He's not finished. He's waiting to strike." Suddenly, a sharp crash shattered the silence. Smash! A glass bottle exploded on the pavement just a few feet away, pieces scattering across the ground. Daniel jumped back, nearly tripping over himself. "He's here," he cried. Riley swung her flashlight toward the rooftops. For a split second, she saw him perched on the edge of a building like a shadow come to life. His hood flapped in the wind, his head tilted slightly, as if he were enjoying the fear he caused. "Get down!" Riley shouted, pushing Daniel toward the wall. At that moment, another object flew through the air, a heavy brick. It slammed into the pavement where Daniel had been standing only seconds earlier. Breaking the concrete, Daniel gasped, his voice breaking. "He tried to kill me." Riley gritted her teeth, her voice sharp with command. "Stay behind me. Don't move." She aimed her gun at the rooftop, but the man had already moved, vanishing into the shadows like smoke. Then, footsteps thundered across the roof. Quick, deliberate. The man was moving fast, circling them from above. Daniel's breathing grew rapid. He clutched his blanket tighter, whispering, "He's playing with us. Like a cat. And we're the mice." Riley's eyes darted across the rooftops, following the sound. Her voice was calm but cold. "No, he thinks we're prey. But he doesn't know I can bite back." Suddenly, a dark figure dropped from the roof, landing hard on the hood of a parked car nearby. The impact shook the vehicle, its alarm blaring in the night. Daniel screamed, stumbling backward. The man stood tall, his hood still covering his face. In one hand, he held a long metal pipe, its surface shining under the flickering streetlight. For the first time, his voice was not mocking. It was sharp, angry. "You should have stayed out of this, officer." Riley pointed her gun straight at him. "Drop the weapon. Now." The man only laughed again, but this time his laugh carried rage. He swung the pipe against the car's windshield, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. The alarm grew louder, echoing down the street. Daniel covered his ears, crying out, "Stop! Please stop!" The man turned his head toward the boy. Even though his face was hidden, Daniel felt the weight of his stare. Cold, ruthless. Hunting, Riley stepped in front of Daniel, her voice fierce. "You won't touch him." The man jumped off the car, landing smoothly on the ground. He twirled the pipe in his hand, ready for a fight. Riley tightened her grip on the gun. Her voice was steady, commanding. "Last warning. Drop it." For a moment, the street froze in silence. The broken car alarm blared. Daniel's small body shook behind her. And the man stood only a few feet away, the pipe raised. Then he charged. Riley fired. Bang! The gunshot echoed through the night. The man twisted at the last second. The bullet scraped his arm, making him stumble, but not fall. His rage exploded. He swung the pipe, striking the side of a trash can, sparks flying. Daniel screamed again, his voice raw. "Run, officer. He's too fast." But Riley didn't run. She planted her feet, her gun steady, her eyes locked on the threat. "I said drop it." The man hissed, clutching his bleeding arm. But instead of retreating, he smirked under his hood. This isn't over. With shocking speed, he threw the metal pipe toward them. Riley shoved Daniel down as it clanged against the wall behind them. By the time she aimed her gun again, the man had already bolted into the alley. Disappearing into the maze of shadows, Daniel's chest heaved as he struggled to breathe. His voice cracked through tears. He could have killed us. He almost did. Riley pulled him close, her strong arms wrapping around his thin frame. Her voice was soft but firm. Not while I'm here. I won't let him. But even as she said those words, her eyes stayed fixed on the dark alley where he had escaped. The blood on the pavement, the broken glass, the echo of his voice. It wasn't a warning anymore. It was a promise. The hunter had finally stepped out of the shadows, and the game was just beginning. The street was still ringing with the sound of the gunshot. Daniel clung to Officer Riley, his face buried in her jacket, his small body trembling from head to toe. His heart beat so fast he thought it might burst. Riley held him tightly, scanning the dark alleys with sharp eyes. Her gun stayed raised, ready for another attack. The man had escaped, but his blood marked the pavement where she had grazed him. Proof that he wasn't untouchable. But she knew the truth. Wounding him wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something worse. Daniel lifted his tear-stained face, whispering shakily, "He's angry now. Angrier than before? He won't stop. He'll come back." Riley's jaw clenched. Yes, he's hurt, and men like him don't handle humiliation. He'll want revenge. The broken car alarm finally died, leaving the street in eerie silence again. Riley's instincts screamed that they couldn't stay there. "Come on, Daniel. We need to move. Staying in one spot makes us an easy target." She pulled him along carefully, leading him to a safer part of the block where the streetlights still worked. Daniel's bare feet hurt against the cold concrete, but he didn't complain. Fear kept him moving. As they walked, Riley's thoughts raced. The man wasn't just reckless. He had planned everything tonight. The hidden bag of weapons, the ticking watches, the taunts, the rooftop chase. Even his attack with the pipe had been more than legit, was calculated chaos. And now, injured, he was somewhere in the dark, plotting his next move. Daniel tugged on her sleeve. His voice cracked. "What if he follows us? What if he finds us before we find him?" Riley looked down at him. Her voice was firm. "Then we fight again. But this time, I'll be ready." But Daniel's small voice whispered something she couldn't ignore. "He doesn't want to fight you, officer. He wants to break you." Riley didn't answer, but his words hit her harder than she expected. The street trap minutes later. They turned a corner, entering another narrow street. It was quieter here, lined with old buildings and locked-up shops. For a moment, Riley thought it was safe. Then she saw it. Spray-painted on the wall in fresh red paint were words that made her blood run cold. One shot missed. "The next one is mine." Daniel's knees buckled. "He was here. Just now. He wrote that for you." Riley scanned the area quickly. The paint dripped down. The wallet was fresh, still wet. The man couldn't be far. Then, from the rooftops, a loud metallic crash echoed like pipes being knocked over. Daniel jumped, his voice trembling. "He's toying with us again." Riley's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "No, he's sending a message. He wants us to know we're in his territory now." As they stepped further down the street, Daniel spotted something lying in the middle of the road. A shoe. Small. Dirty. He pointed at it, his voice shaking. That's a child's shoe." Riley's stomach twisted. She picked it up carefully. It was too small for an adult. Daniel's voice cracked. "He's taken someone else, hasn't he?" Riley closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Maybe. Or maybe he left it here to scare us. But deep inside, she feared the boy was right. The warning suddenly, a new sound broke the night. A phone ringing. Daniel flinched. Riley froze. The sound was coming from a public payphone just a few steps ahead. Its shrill ring echoed down the empty street. They exchanged a look. Riley gripped her gun tighter and approached the phone slowly. The ringing didn't stop. When she reached it, she picked up the receiver. For a second, there was only static. Then the man's voice came through, low and cruel. "You can't protect him forever, officer." Riley's grip tightened. If you touch him again, the man cut her off with a laugh. You already tried. You missed. Now, it's my turn. Then the line went dead. Riley slammed the receiver down, her teeth clenched. Daniel's voice cracked with terror. He's coming for me, isn't he? Riley knelt down quickly, holding his face in her hands. Her voice was firm but gentle. Listen to me, Daniel. He wants us scared. He wants us weak. Don't give him that. You've survived worse nights than this, haven't you? Daniel's lip trembled, but he nodded. Yes, then you'll survive this one too. Because I'm not letting him take you. The revenge plan from the shadows of another rooftop. The man crouched low, clutching his bleeding arm. His dark eyes burned with rage as he watched them. He touched the blood on his sleeve, then smeared it across the wall beside him. Leaving a red mark like a signature, his voice was a whisper, but it dripped with venom. She thinks she's the hunter, but tonight she learns what it feels like to lose. He looked down at the boy, fragile and scared, hiding behind the officer's side. His twisted grin spread wide. Her weakness is him. Break the boy. And the officer breaks too. The night grew colder, heavier. The game was no longer about fear. It was about revenge, and the hunter was ready to strike again. The air in the narrow street grew colder. Daniel pressed close against Officer Riley's side, his small hand gripping her jacket as if letting go meant death. His breathing came fast, shallow, his wide eyes darting at every shadow. Riley scanned the rooftops, her gun steady in her hands. Every nerve in her body screamed danger. The call still echoed in her mind. Now it's my turn, she whispered firmly. Daniel, no matter what happens, don't run off alone. You stay with me. Daniel's lips trembled, but he nodded quickly. I'll stay. I promise. They moved down the street, but something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too empty. Even the usual city noises, distant cars, barking dogs were gone. It was a trap. She could feel it. The shadows close in from the corner of her eye. Riley noticed movement. A figure darting between the buildings. She turned sharply, gun raised. Nothing. Only shadows. Then another noise. Creak. A fire escape ladder slowly lowered itself, as if touched by invisible hands. Daniel whimpered, clutching her tighter. He's here, officer. I can feel him. Stay calm, Riley said, her voice sharp, steady. But inside her chest, her heart pounded like thunder. Suddenly, a bottle rolled across the pavement behind them. Daniel spun around, eyes wide. Behind us, Riley aimed, but again nothing. The street was empty. That's when it happened. A blur of motion dropped from the roof. The man landed silently behind them, faster than Riley could turn. Daniel screamed. Strong arms wrapped around him, pulling him off the ground. The man's grip was like iron. No. Riley roared, spinning with her gun raised. The man yanked Daniel back, using the boy as a shield. Daniel thrashed, kicking and clawing, but the man's hooded figure held him tight. Put him down, Riley shouted, her voice breaking with fury. The man laughed low, his breath chilling Daniel's ear. This is what you were trying to protect? A weak little rat from the street? Daniel's cries tore through the night. Let me go. Officer Riley. Riley's hands shook, but not from fear, from rage. Her finger hovered near the trigger, but she couldn't shoot. Not with Daniel's fragile body pressed against the man's chest. The man tightened his grip around Daniel's throat, making the boy gasp for air. His words were venom. You took your shot, officer. Now it's mine. Daniel's hands reached out desperately toward Riley. His tear-filled eyes begged for help. Please, don't let him take me. The struggle Riley's voice was firm, commanding. Let him go now. You hurt him, and I swear you won't live to see the next minute. The man smirked under his hood. Then shoot. Let's see if you care more about your badge. Or the boy. Riley's jaw tightened. She couldn't risk the shot. Not yet. Instead, she slowly lowered her gun, keeping her eyes locked on him. You don't want him. He's nothing to you. You came for me. The man's grip on Daniel's throat loosened slightly, but his laugh was cruel. Oh, you're wrong. He's everything to me. Because he's everything to you. Daniel choked out a broken cry. Officer, help. That sound tore at Riley's heart. In a sudden burst of fury, she lunged forward, swinging the butt of her gun like a hammer. It struck the man's arm. He grunted, loosening his grip just enough. Daniel slipped from his hold, crashing onto the ground. "Run, Daniel," Riley shouted. The boy scrambled toward her, but the man recovered quickly, grabbing Riley's wrist with terrifying strength. The gun clattered to the ground. They struggled in the middle of the street, his bleeding arm staining her sleeve as they fought. Daniel screamed, frozen in terror. "Go." Riley yelled again, kicking the man backward. Daniel finally obeyed. Sprinting to the corner, his bare feet slapping the concrete, the escaped man roared with rage, slamming Riley against the wall. His face, still hidden in shadow, came inches from hers. His voice was a hiss. "You think you saved him? You only delayed what's coming." Riley drove her knee into his stomach. He stumbled, but didn't fall. She dove for her gun, snatching it up. By the time she aimed, the man was already retreating, melting into the alley's darkness like a phantom. "Coward," she shouted, her voice echoing down the street. But he was gone. Again, Daniel ran back to her, throwing himself into her arms. His chest heaved, his tears soaking her jacket. "He almost took me." "He almost did." Riley held him close, her own breath uneven. Her voice shook, but she forced strength into it. "He didn't, and as long as I'm here, he never will." But deep inside, she knew the truth. The man had nearly won tonight. He had almost taken Daniel, and next time, he would come harder. Daniel's sobs slowly faded into quiet sniffles. He clung to Officer Riley like a lifeline, afraid that if he let go, the shadowy man would appear again and drag him away forever. Riley stroked the boy's messy hair, her own hands trembling though she tried to hide it. Her heart was still racing from the fight. She had come within seconds of losing him. Her voice was steady but low. "He won't get you, Daniel. Not while I'm here." Daniel's voice cracked as he whispered, but he almost did. "He had me. I couldn't breathe." Riley crouched to his level, looking straight into his frightened eyes. "Almost doesn't count. You're still here. You're alive. And that means we fight on." Daniel nodded weakly, but his gaze kept darting to the dark alleys around them. As if the man could step out at any second, the street of silence they moved again, staying close to the lit areas. Riley kept her gun steady, her senses sharp. Every sound, every dripping gutter, every fluttering. Ahead, a row of streetlights stretched down the block. One by one, they flickered and went out. Pop, pop, pop. Darkness swallowed the road until only the light above them remained. Daniel gasped. "He's here. He's doing this." Riley pulled him back, her jaw tight. "No, he doesn't control the lights, but he knew they would go out. He planned this." The boy clutched her sleeve. "It's a trap, isn't it?" "Yes," she admitted. "But if it's his trap, then it's also our chance to catch him." The Luras. They stepped carefully into the shadowed street. Riley spotted something on the ground. A trail, small scraps of paper, torn in half, each one with messy writing in red marker. She picked one up and read it aloud. "Follow, or he dies." Daniel's stomach knotted. His voice trembled. "Who does he mean?" "Who's he?" Riley collected the second scrap. "Every minute counts." Her eyes darkened. "He's luring us, step by step." Daniel hugged himself tightly. "This is bad. This is really bad." The trail continued down the block, each scrap leading them deeper into the dark. Finally, the last one rested at the mouth of an abandoned warehouse, its tall doors creaking in the wind. Riley lifted it, her stomach sinking as she read the words. Inside. Alone. The warehouse loomed over them, its windows broken, its walls stained with years of neglect. A faint creaking echoed from inside, like ropes swaying in the dark. Daniel shook his head, tears filling his eyes. "He wants us in there. That's his lair. If we go in, we don't come out." Riley crouched, holding his shoulders firmly. Her voice was calm but iron-strong. Daniel, listen to me. This ends tonight. I can't keep running with you in the streets. I have to face him. The boy's voice broke. Then I'll come too. I won't leave you. Her heart clenched. Brave little soul. But she couldn't risk him. You've already done more than enough. You survived him. You fought. Now I need you to stay hidden just for a little while longer. Daniel's lip trembled, but he nodded. I trust you, officer. Riley squeezed his hand. Good. Now go. Stay close to the shadows and don't move until I come for you. Reluctantly, Daniel slipped behind a stack of crates, his thin body barely visible. His wide eyes never left her. The trap springs Riley pushed the heavy warehouse door open. The hinges screamed as it swung inward. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the faint smell of rust. Moonlight leaked through broken windows, casting long, eerie beams across the floor. And then she saw them, dozens of clocks. Hanging from ropes, nailed to walls, scattered across the ground, all ticking. All out of sync, the noise was maddening. Tick, tick, tick. Her breath caught. This wasn't just a warehouse. It was his stage. From the shadows, his voice drifted out, low and taunting. Oh! Welcome, officer. You kept me waiting. Riley raised her gun, her eyes sharp. Show yourself. A laugh echoed across the room, bouncing off the walls. Oh, I will. But first, let me show you how it feels when time runs out. At that moment, several of the clocks began ringing at once, their alarms shrieking like screams in the night. Riley spun around, searching for him, but the noise drowned everything, and then she realized Daniel was gone from behind the crates. Her heart dropped like a stone. The man had sprung his trap. The warehouse howled with noise. Dozens of clocks rang and buzzed, their alarms colliding into one deafening storm. Riley pressed her back against a wall, her gun raised, her eyes darting across the shadows. But one thought drowned out everything else. Daniel was gone, her stomach twisted with fear. She had told him to hide. She had promised to protect him, and now he was missing. Daniel, she shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. No answer. Only the endless ticking and ringing. From the far side of the warehouse, a cruel laugh rose. A sound froze her blood. Then she heard it, Daniel's muffled scream. The reveal. Riley spun toward the sound. A single spotlight flickered on in the center of the warehouse. It illuminated a sickening sight. Daniel, the boy, was tied to a chair with thick rope, his thin arms bound tight, his blanket thrown aside. Small chest heaved with sobs as he struggled helplessly. Standing behind him was the hooded man. One gloved hand gripping Daniel's shoulder, the other holding a jagged knife. The blade caught the light, sharp and merciless. Daniel's tear-streaked face lifted toward Riley. His voice cracked as he cried, "Help me, Officer Riley!" Riley's heart nearly shattered. She raised her gun, aiming straight at the man's chest. Let him go. The man tilted his head, calm, almost amused. Ah, there she is, the brave officer. Always arriving just in time to watch. Riley's voice roared with fury. If you hurt him, I swear. Swear. The man cut her off, pressing the cold knife against Daniel's neck. The boy whimpered, squeezing his eyes shut. You swore before. You said you'd protect him, and yet look where he is. Riley's hands shook on the gun. Every instinct screamed at her to shoot, but one wrong move, and the boy would bleed. The man leaned down, whispering into Daniel's ear. His words were meant for Riley, but his breath made the boy flinch. Do you know what the difference is between us, officer? You care? I don't. That makes you weak. It makes you predictable. Daniel cried out, his voice high with panic. Please, don't hurt me. Riley's eyes burned with rage. He's just a child. He's innocent. The man's laugh was bitter, hollow. No one is innocent. Not him. Not you. Not anyone. Time exposes us all. He lifted the knife slightly, not cutting, but threatening. Daniel froze, barely breathing. Put the weapon down, Riley commanded, her voice sharp as steel. You want me? Take me. but let him go. The man chuckled, the sound echoing through the warehouse. Oh, I will take you, officer, piece by piece. But first I'll break you, and nothing breaks a protector more than watching the helpless fall. The countdown, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small. Timer. Old, scratched, but still working. He set it on the floor beside Daniel's chair and clicked it on 0 hours 5 minutes and 0 seconds. The red numbers began to count down. Daniel's eyes widened in terror. What is that? The man stroked the boy's hair with mock gentleness. Promise, little one. When the numbers reach 0, the game ends. Riley's breath caught. What did you do? The man smirked beneath his hood. Let's just say the building won't be standing much longer. Daniel's cries grew louder. No, I don't want to die. Riley stepped forward, gun steady. Stop this. Stop it now, or I will end you. The man pressed the knife closer to Daniel's throat. One more step, officer, and the boy bleeds before the clock runs out. Riley froze, sweat dripping down her temple. Her mind raced. She couldn't shoot. She couldn't rush him. Time was slipping a weech tick, dragging Daniel closer to death. The threat, Daniel's small voice cracked, filled with terror. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to. Riley's chest ached, as if it were being crushed. She forced her voice to stay strong, steady, even as her soul screamed inside. Daniel, listen to me. Look at me. The boy lifted his tear-filled eyes. You're not going anywhere. You hear me? I won't let him. You hold on. You're stronger than he thinks. The man sneered, his grip tightening on the knife. Touching, truly touching. But in 5 minutes, your words won't matter. He leaned closer, his shadow swallowing Daniel's small frame, and Riley realized with a chill, this was the moment he had been planning all along. The trap was complete. The boy was bait. The timer was ticking, and if she didn't act soon, both of them would be lost. The warehouse echoed with the ticking of the countdown. 0 hours 4 minutes and 32 seconds. 0 hours 4 minutes and 31 seconds. Each second slammed against Riley's chest like a hammer. Daniel sat bound in the chair, tears streaking his face. His thin body shook with every tick. His frightened eyes locked on Riley. Please don't let it happen. Riley steadied her aim, her gun fixed on the hooded man's chest. Her voice was sharp, controlled. This ends now. Step away from him. The man's laugh rolled through the warehouse like thunder. Still giving orders? You don't understand. You're not in control. Time is. He tapped the timer with the tip of his knife. Beep. The sound made Daniel flinch. 0 hours 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The standoff Riley's mind raced. She had seconds, not minutes. Shooting him was too risky. Rushing him was suicide. But waiting was death for them both. She tried to buy time. Why him? Why a boy who has nothing? You want me, not him? The man's hood tilted, his voice cold. He has everything to do with you, because you care, you protect, and I destroy. Daniel whimpered. Please, I can't breathe. The man tightened his grip on the boy's shoulder, pressing the knife closer to his skin. Do you feel it, officer? That panic? That helplessness? That's what I live for. Riley's hands trembled, but her voice was a blade. You're wrong. I'm not helpless. Neither is he. The man scoffed, mocking. What can he do? Cry, beg? It's all he's good for. But Daniel, shaking and terrified, forced himself to meet Riley's eyes. Through his sobs, he whispered, I'm not, just weak. Something in his tone lit a fire inside Riley. The move 0 hours 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Riley lowered her gun slowly, her eyes never leaving the man. You think I won't act because I care? But caring doesn't make me weak. It makes me dangerous. The man tilted his head, suspicious. What are you doing? Riley's lips tightened. Ending this, in one swift move, she fired not at him, but at the chain holding a heavy steel hook above. Bang! The chain snapped. The hook swung down like a pendulum, smashing into the man's shoulder. Staggered.